we're doing is a traditional steak sauce, which is bernaise. So what I've got here is I've got some white wine vinegar and some white wine, and I have some finely diced onions. And what I've done is I've added them to the pan, and I've reduced them down by about 2/3. So we've got this lovely infused little reduction, and this is going to be the basis of our sauce. Then what I have here is some chopped tarragon, some egg yolks, and I've just melted some butter, which will finish off the sauce. If you can't find fresh tarragon to finish it off, some chopped chives or some flat leaf parsley will also do the trick. Often been asked the question about my death row meal. This would certainly be a steak, chips and bernaise, without a doubt, one of my favourite dishes of all time. So what we've got in here is our reduction of our finely diced onions, some tarragon vinegar and some white wine, which we've cooked down to 1/3 its original volume. Now we're just doing this over a double boiler. Otherwise, if you put it on direct heat, it's going to turn to scrambled eggs quickly. We're going to whisk in some butter to this, and by emulsified, we're using agitation and heat to emulsify two agents that wouldn't usually mix. It's a bit like, think of it in terms of like a hot mayonnaise, for example. It's a very, very rich sauce, lots of egg yolks and butter, but you don't need a great deal of it. The only problem with this sauce is that it doesn't keep. And by keep, I mean you can't reheat it. So it's the kind of sauce that you'd make just before your guests arrive, or just before you're about to serve your steak. It'll last on a stovetop for the duration of dinner, because it doesn't need to be hot. It just sort of stays just above room temperature. But if you try and reheat it, the eggs and the milk and the eggs and the butter will split. We're looking for what we call, as chefs called, ribbon stage. You see, it's not quite falling back on itself, but this is still not cooked. And you'll see slowly but surely, as the whisk draws through, that egg is starting to thicken. What I mean by ribbons is as you draw the whisk through it, you get these lovely sort of thick, almost like, if you imagine the sort of consistency of soft peaks of meringue. That's the sort of consistency you're looking for. Now we've just melted some butter. Now we're just going to slowly whisk in that butter. Very, very slowly, as you would with the mayonnaise, so that it incorporates and emulsifies. If you pour this in too quickly, same as you would with mayonnaise when you do an oil, it will split. And you have to start over again. Always check before you season, because if you're using salted butter, for example, it doesn't need any further seasoning. If you just salt at lib here, it's going to be quite unpleasant. I prefer to use unsalted butter because then you can control your own salt intake. Okay. Oh, that'll do the trick. There we go, guys. How to cook the perfect steak. Experiment. Ask your butcher for different cuts. The best thing always with steak is to try and get a relationship with the butcher, get interesting cuts, find out, if possible, get him to dry age it for you, hang it for you. It's an interesting journey. We think steak's a simple cut of meat. We've already seen those are 3 variations. We didn't even look at rump or sirloin or anglais. There are a number of different cuts that can still be touched on. Cooking method, the seasoning, the resting is still the same. But for more information about what we've done today, bernaise and a couple other recipes, look out for the July issue of Men's Health, packed with steak info.